In this video, I want to share with you how to play safe investing in the real estate sector in Abuja under the Wike administration. I mean, the minister of the FCT, Wike himself, right? And this is a very important video because I've seen a couple of videos on the internet about people saying different stuff about Wike and, of course, real estate in Abuja. And I want to use this opportunity to correct some very wrong impression, as well as importantly share certain tips that can help you and of course help everybody playing in this sector to play safe as well as invest safely in the real estate sector in Abuja. My name is Raymond Ijoma and I am the lawyer that loves real estate, or if you like, the real estate entrepreneur that uses law and real estate as a tool in building wealth for myself and my client. And this video is brought to you by Fortreal Rei Ltd, real estate company right here in the very city of Abuja, and we bring you the absolute best of real estate. For us, it is not just enough to share strategic investment opportunities with you. It is also important for us that you are properly educated and properly informed as it relates to how to safely and rightly invest while you are trying to build wealth for yourself. And that's why I want to have this conversation. Now, the very first thing I want to say, or just before I say that, do make sure you subscribe to the channel, like the video, drop a comment, and be a part of this family, because right here we're making sure that you are investing safely and building wealth, leveraging on real estate. Now, as I've always said, there's no wealthy man in the entire world who doesn't directly or indirectly invest in real estate. So if you ever dream of building wealth and being wealthy, then real estate is not a conversation whether you should invest or not invest. It's simply a conversation of how many do I have to invest in, as much as how many am I supposed to put in my money into. For you, it's not a matter of cars are prone to have accidents, as it were, right? But then you're not going to say, I won't own a car, or I won't get into a car because some person's cars had an accident. That is what some persons do when they say, oh, somebody's land had an issue, then I'm not going to invest in real estate. That's a major mistake, and you will be at the losing end ultimately at the end of the day, right? So the conversation about whether you should invest in real estate or not is not the conversation to have. The conversation to have is how to safely invest in real estate. That is what we want to talk about in this particular video. And just before I go further into the conversation, I have to really lay a proper foundation of the fact that real estate in Nigeria is not perfect. Neither is it perfect anywhere in the entire world. I'm quite familiar with how the real estate sector in the UK, US, a bit of Canada, and some other places in the world works. And I can tell you for a fact that it is not exactly perfect anywhere. Some systems are better, some administrations, way better than what we have in Nigeria, but it doesn't automatically mean that they're perfect at all. The least thing I have to say in that regard is the fact that you just have to understand how the system works, or how or what works in a particular sector, in a particular country, and play in that regard to avoid issues. I'm discussing with a partner of ours who has been trying to get permit for almost 3 years back in the US, and the conversations are deep, and I don't want to go into details just so that it doesn't look like I'm trying to defend what is happening in Nigeria. So having said that, if you really want to play safe investing in the Abuja real estate sector, you have to do certain things for me, and I'm going to have to really be quick, hit the nail on the head, and get out of your way. Right, the very first thing you have to understand is the fact that your clarity as it relates to your investment goal is key, is major. Because for a sector like Abuja, every part of the city with respect to investment is designated. You don't want to invest in a commercial land when your plan is to invest in a residential area, or your purpose of investment is residential, right? As a matter of fact, in Abuja, there is a difference between an industrial land, a commercial land, a religious land, as well as an educational land, right? There are differences. So you need to truly understand what you want to do and get in touch with somebody who knows how the system operates. Because if you just, oh, I want a land, and you buy land, you may get into issues because you're going to repurpose the land by yourself, whereas it's a process of repurposing the land, which is very difficult. So you don't even want to have a conversation about repurposing the land. You really just want to buy a land that is for that particular use, else you're going to have issues. So the clarity as relates to your investment is very important, because with that clarity, you know what you are investing. Are you investing for short term or for long term? If your goal is to invest for long term, then you have no conversation, or you have no point asking for a land close to the city center, because the city center of Abuja requires you to build on time, to build, because we don't want uncompleted buildings in the heart of the city. Right. So if your plan isn't to build immediately, then the reality, the fact is that you're going to have to do long-term land banking and not short-term land banking, right? And then, of course, if your goal is cash flow, then you're not doing long-term land banking. At that point, your goal, or you have to invest in somewhere where it is already the priority, or the conversation is already with regard to cash flow, right? So these are very important things that you need to look into if you want to invest safely in Abuja. So let me just run down the questions again. Number one, what am I investing in? What is my investment goal? Is it for short term? Is it for long term? Is it for commercial? Is it for residential? Right? And then, am I buying to develop it or buying to resell? These are basic questions you need to answer. You need to basically have answers to these questions for you to invest safely. It looks basic, but trust me, this is the foundation of playing safe in the real estate sector in Abuja. Number two, who allocated the land? Is it the federal government or the local government? Is it the federal government or the local government? This is a core part of the question that you have to ask. And I'm not going to go into details in regards to this. I've done videos about title documents in Abuja, basic documentation in Abuja, and all of that. And I don't want to go into details. So this is not going to be me talking right now. I'm basically going to be interpreting or communicating to you the intent as well as the interpretation of the laws that govern the land. And I'm going to make reference to two of them. Number one, the Land Use Act of 1978, and the second is the FCT Act, the act that enacted, that created, that brought into existence the Federal Capital Territory. And just to keep it on the fact without creating a contention in this particular conversation, it is safe that you invest in accordance to the law, right? So you can look into my other videos where I talked about these things in more details and with more facts. And of course, there are certain exceptions, tiny exceptions here and there, but those conversations are based on context and based on circumstance, and you need consultancy to be able to play safe in that regard. Number three, who is the developer? Who is the broker? And what is the development plan of the estate? Who is the developer? Who is the broker? And what is the development plan of the estate? Development plan of the estate can as well help you know whether that is the place you want to invest in or not. There are some estates that basically just want to sell land and leave, right? At that point, that estate may be prone to revocation. There's some other estate that they have a plan to develop. In fact, there are certain land acquisitional policies that require the estate developer to develop at least 60-70%, depending on which is applicable, right? They require that those lands are developed within a certain period of time for at least 40, 50, 60%. Right, so it means that if those developments don't happen within that specified range, then there is already a problem, right? So these are certain things you have to look into and understand. And that is why always we're educated so that you know how to safely invest. And if the information is a lot and too much for you to understand, then you get in touch with a broker, a developer that knows what he or she is doing, and you can ascertain that this person knows what he's doing and knows how to play safe in the real estate sector. But the question of whether I'm not going to invest, because then that is going to be a defeatist move, and you don't want to do that, because you're going to be bearing more of the consequences at the end of the day, right? So just know how to play safe and you will be fine. Of course, there's no perfect system, again, like I mentioned, and I would not, as a believer, I cannot take away the place of grace, the place of God in all that we do. At the end of the day, God helps us in everything that we do and helps us to play safe. But what we can do at a human level and by the wisdom that God gives us is to do what we can do and basically know how to learn how to try and do our best to play safe while investing in real estate. But never, because we hear that something is happening or something happened to Mr. A or happened to Mr. B or happened to a few people, then you're going to decide not to invest in real estate. What you're going to be doing is that because somebody had an accident, you're choosing not to buy a car. Just see it as that, and you understand that it's not a conversation of whether you want to invest in or not. It's a conversation of how do I invest safely to be able to enjoy the benefits of real estate. That's the conversation I basically wanted to have with us today. And I hope that you had a great time listening to that. And I'm looking forward to seeing you invest in real estate the right way, God helping all of us. My name again is Raymond Ijoma, and I am the lawyer that loves real estate. I hope to see you on the other side of wealth. Bye bye.